Yeah, my name's Allan. I'm the founder and CEO of Room Media Group. We're a performance marketing agency that works with service-based businesses that are looking to grow and scale, and we help them develop marketing plans. We help them build the infrastructure so that they can actually scale. Companies come to us with all shapes and sizes. We work with some larger firms that are maybe spending 2 to 5 grand a day on ads and are trying to scale that spend beyond where they're at. Maybe they want to spend 10 grand a day on ads. We also work with small local businesses. A lot of the local clients we deal with are in the financial services dash insurance kind of area.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
All right, all right. Well, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you got maybe what you came for in the beginning when Allan told you what he does, who he does it for, and if that's all that you want, then I'm glad I could serve that need because we want to help businesses grow. That's the whole point of the show, is to show you how people start it, sustain, succeed. But if all you want are services, cool. For those of you who want to stick around, Allan is going to give us the game, and he's going to let us know during the COVID time how he said, you know what, I'm tired of working for other people. I want to work for myself. Let's hear about the journey. Welcome to the show, Allan. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for coming on, and let's get into it because you've said some things in your previous interviews, and you guys can Google his, he's done multiple interviews. Check him out on even the Amplified Life, and he talks about the BS that is in the marketing game. When people make these guarantees, I want you to let people know what are the biggest, maybe 2 mistakes you see entrepreneurs do when they're looking for marketing. What are those 2?
Yeah, so the first mistake people make is they believe everything they hear, right? So maybe like they hear, oh, this is the new thing, this is the new shiny object. So they get easily distracted and they just succumb to like all the shiny and the flash. Someone's telling them, I'll get you $10 appointments, and then you have to wonder, are they actually compliant? Can this get you in legal trouble? Are their claims legit? What type of track record and experience they've got? So these are like red flags. I always say to everyone, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and you should get away from it. So rather than getting enticed by something that sounds too good to be true, I think the biggest mistake entrepreneurs are making is falling for that rather than having, professional skepticism. Like I always say, like there is no free lunch. Like the free lunch is in a mousetrap. So you really have to take that into account, exercise extreme caution, and don't believe everything you hear.
Now, my mother, my father, my grandparents on both sides would say these same things. And we have adults who, a lot of them have gone to school, finished school, got advanced degrees, and they're still not taking those even elementary lessons. It's something in the human psychology. What would you say would be the signs that you see? Because, everybody will say, oh, lead generation, funnel, make money in your sleep. And in your real life, you'd be like, I went to school to make money in my sleep. There is no money in my sleep. I got to worry about taxes. I got to worry about my whole team. The things, especially with AI, they even get more complicated. What can some people do? Do you maybe have like a template or some tips to say, this sounds too good to be true? Because not everybody's discernment is the same.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, if being a millionaire was so easy, everybody would be a millionaire, right? And so the reality is that it's hard. It's an emotional roller coaster to run a business. And the bigger your business, the more the risks, the higher the stakes, the more is involved, right? Maybe you have a bigger team, you have bigger payroll, you have a bigger office. All these different factors come into play, right? And so like people have to realize that like at the end of the day, you have to exercise professional skepticism. So I don't have a framework, but at the end of the day, like, if something is too good to be true, if it doesn't sound realistic, it probably is, right? Now, the interesting piece of all of this is that's why people are falling for these kind of scams all the time. Like, I see ads all the time from the 19-year-old kid in their mom's basement. And by the way, over a decade ago, I was that kid, right? So it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but with that being said, you see a kid saying, "Hey, I'll get contractors $10 appointments." They don't exist, right? And so maybe it's contractors, maybe it's coaches, consultants. It really doesn't matter, but like that doesn't exist. There's a reason it doesn't happen, right? In my fundamental opinion, things got to be realistic. If you can spend $1 and make $5 back, or $7 back, or $4 back, you need to keep doing that. If someone's like, "Hey, I'm gonna get an 80x return," that's unrealistic. It doesn't exist, right? And so maybe it exists for a day, but it just doesn't exist, right? So one thing I like doing is if someone gives you a name and like asking them for references, asking them for testimonials. Testimonials can be faked, references can't. And if you ask them for 2 or 3 references, it's more likely that they're realistic. So maybe a business owner is in a situation where they don't know if something is too good to be true. They think it can be, but maybe it's not. Then you want to do more due diligence on that person that you're dealing with, on that company that you're dealing with, whether it's like a marketing company, a recruiting company. It doesn't really matter. It's the same frameworks and the same principles that start to apply for all businesses, really.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
And what do you think about, and I've done this 20 plus years. People say, how do you stay in business? And I say, be honest. And being from Oakland, California, and then doing business for real in Springfield, Massachusetts, I didn't have the option with the population that I worked with, whether it was entertainment or politics, to lie to anybody. You get one chance. And, in Springfield or Oakland, the murder rate is always going up. So you get one chance to be honest, and you don't play around with that. But with marketing, people say don't tell the client everything because they won't understand. How do you feel about transparency and kind of teaching the client, like Dave Ramsey says, have the heart of a teacher?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all teaching, right? It's educating clients. When clients come to my business, they're usually not doing marketing very well. That's why they need it, right? Or maybe they're doing it, it's okay, it can be better. So fundamentally, you got to educate the client. And people come to us for a reason because we have a good brand and recognition. We have a good reputation. I do business with honesty and integrity. I've never lied to anyone. I've always refunded when asked to. All these kinds of situations. Now, there's some dirty actors out there. There's some bad players out there as well. And so people have skepticism. They get burned. All these things, right? Now, what you want to do as a business owner is, like, if you're not doing the marketing and you're outsourcing, you just conceptually need to understand what they're doing, what type of ads they're running. You should have regular meetings like we do with our clients to get feedback, how the leads are, what are their booking rates, what are their conversion rates, right? Because what you start to build here is a feedback loop, and that's very important. Now, what a lot of business owners do is they're very short-sighted. Now, I'm not saying that results are going to take years. They shouldn't. Like, clients typically, when they get onboarded with us, they see results fairly quickly. But you won't see overnight results. Why? Because if you have a sales team of 5, say, insurance agents, and they're used to working a specific type of client, and they have a script, And suddenly that script changes. They're not going to be masters at the new script in a day, in a week. Maybe it takes them a month. Maybe it takes them 2 months to really dial it in. And that's actually part of the process, right? And so I think a lot of business owners are very short sighted where they want magic bullets. They want things overnight. But like I said earlier, if becoming a millionaire was so easy, everyone would be a millionaire. It takes time. You got to take punches to the face. You have to improve your process. Now, at the end of the day, it's not going to take years. You should see results fairly quickly, but fairly quickly is relative, right? The worst clients that work with us, like absolutely worst, are people who come expecting instant results right away. Why? Because they're not patient. They're not willing to adapt and change. They expect everything overnight. And every month they're going to a new marketing company expecting different results. And lo and behold, 2 years later, they're in the same position they were in right away. What if they focused on growth, on compounding, on learning, on split testing, on refining their processes? So I think it's a holistic image. It's not one thing or the other. But good business owners, the ones that I see be successful for the long haul, they're innovating, they're adapting, they're building feedback loops within their businesses so that they can get better and better and better. And this doesn't just apply to marketing. Now, it can apply to marketing, which is why I'm bringing it up, right? Refining your scripts, refining your sales processes. Marketing and sales work together. Marketing blames sales, sales blames marketing. That's just the reality of how the world works, right? And they work together. And so you need a strong congruency. Now, as a business owner for a marketing business, I work with my clients to make sure that we're congruent, that they understand what the messaging and the ads are, why we're doing what we're doing, why we're phrasing things in a specific way, because marketing doesn't understand sales often, and sales doesn't understand marketing often. And when you give your clients the right information and frame it in the right way and give them the context they need, let's say they just do sales, marketing can work better for them because they start understanding why things are said. They know how to frame their conversations. They know how to frame their sales calls. And then you have what I call a symbiotic relationship, which is a relationship that's conducive to both sides winning and both sides benefiting from that relationship.
I love, you mentioned the millionaire twice, and then I said, "Oh, I'm wearing my Millionaire X .ai hat because I had my other hat over here." And we always like to show people, through the AI, like the Dave Ramseys of the world, how even teachers in this country can become millionaires. And just because you make a million, don't think you're going to sit back and be happy. You're probably going to want it 10, and then you're going to want 100, then you're going to want a billion if you don't check yourself. And Allan, I'm doing a second master's degree right now, and it is in social work, and the goal is to be a therapist for my clients as well, because whether they're athletes or doctors or whoever, the more you make, the more your family wants to take. You have, I believe, an immigrant family, and you're in Toronto. How much of that push? Because the immigrant hustle is real, and that's why wherever you go in the world, immigrants, they say, "Oh man, they're taking the jobs." No, they're killing the jobs because you didn't want them, and they're taking them and they're revamping them. And you need immigrants everywhere you go. How much of that drove you in your life?
Great question. So my family are immigrants from Eastern Europe. My mom is from Ukraine. My father's from Uzbekistan. Now these are both they were Soviet republics, so they come from communism. That's where my family grew up. And in communism, everybody is equal, and there's a very limited opportunity. The reason they came to North America is to give their kids and their heirs a better life. And so, life wasn't easy. Like my father growing up would shovel driveways just to help his parents keep the lights on. And so I think immigrants have chips on their shoulders. When people don't have that, they get too comfortable. And I think my parents raised me in a good way where I do still have that immigrant hustle, even though I'm not an immigrant, right? I'm born and raised in Canada. Um, Now, with that being said, I think like immigrants, because they have a chip on their shoulder, they're willing to work harder. they're willing to outwork their peers, and they're willing to take risks that other people aren't, you know? And so complacency kills. That's my opinion. And so a lot of people that they just get too comfortable, they're complacent. And I came from that corporate world. I worked a corporate job for a couple of years, and I saw all these people get complacent. And I hated them, and I hated that world because it wasn't for me. I like getting better. I like challenging myself. I constantly set different goals in different areas of my life. Like this year, I got rid of my condo in Toronto, and I've been traveling the world, right? Is it comfortable? Do I always like it? No, I don't. Some places I go I like, some places I go I don't like, right? But if you're not challenging yourself to get better, to get in new environments, to surround yourself with different people, to take bigger risks, you're never going to get better. You're going to stagnate for the next 6, 8, 10, 30 years. And you're going to look back at your life and you're going to realize that you're living a life of regret. And that is my biggest fear. I do not want to live a life of regret. I want to challenge myself. It's not about money. If you can pay your bills and you can pay for rent, or and you can buy yourself a house and buy yourself a car, like you've got most of what you need and you have food on the table, you're in a better position than a lot of people in the world. Some people don't have enough money for food. Some people take the public transit because they can't afford a car, etc. Right? So everything else is a bonus. But like that hustle, getting yourself better, challenging yourself, I think it really comes from maybe this immigrant mentality. I've been raised with an immigrant mentality. In fact, my first language was Russian, not English. I'm fluent in both. However, like I've been raised with these values, and I think people who are immigrants, they're just willing to work harder. They're willing to endure more. They're willing to take bigger risks. And if you don't take risks, you don't get, right? I see people who maybe are in a stable corporate job, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they get comfortable, they get settled. And a lot of people, they live this whole life, this whole routine that's the exact same. It's get married by, say, like late 20s, have a family, have a kid, get a mortgage, pay, get a stable job. You'll never get fired. You're going to work for a bank or a telecom company or something like that, and you're just going to get paid every week, and you're going to come home every evening to your family. And some people even have like bad relationships with their spouses. And then the real estate is only going to go up. It's the safest place. It's our mentality. It was the mentality in Canada for the longest time. You buy a home, you're going to have equity in that home once you retire, and that's going to fund your retirement. And sometimes the system breaks. The real estate market in Canada isn't doing so well. That part of the system breaks. AI, talking of AI, it's coming in, it's taking people's jobs. That person who thought they could just be on cruise control in that telecom company or that bank for 30 years, well, maybe suddenly their job is getting replaced. These people, they're living a life on cruise control. They're not getting better. They're not doing personal growth. They're not doing any kind of personal development. They don't have good skills. All they know how to do is click buttons and say yes to their boss. Then you put them in a forest, they're gonna starve. They're gonna go homeless, and they're not focused on building these skills. And I think, I don't know if your audience is young or old, but if you're a young person, you need to build skills. Forget about the money. If you have all the skills, the money will come. Like, money comes to people who have the skills, who are putting in the work, who are challenging themselves, who are getting better. There are no shortcuts. And it goes back to my point. There are no magic bullets, right? It just doesn't exist. And so I'm a big proponent and a big believer in getting the strong foundation to build. And that's business. That's other areas of life. I used to be really fat and overweight, and I spent a bunch of time going to the gym, and I've hired different trainers and learned different things. And you don't get really shredded by going to the gym for 6 months and just following a plan. You get really shredded by failing, by learning, by challenging yourself, by getting better in all these areas. Maybe the first step is you want to work on your form and perfect that form. The second step is to work on that diet and perfect that diet. The third step is to push yourself harder and increase the intensity with which you're doing your workouts. So you don't see these things overnight. They take time. And I think a lot of people, they have a very short time horizon. If they're not a millionaire in 6 months, they give up. No, it takes years. If everything was so easy, everyone would be doing it. And it's not. And I'm learning this too. I got complacent for a period of time, too comfortable, whatever, right? And so now I'm learning, and now, I'm doing certain things that are outside of my comfort zone, but they're forcing me to level up. Even if you do 10 things, and let's say you fail at 5 of them, and you succeed at 5 of them, those 5 that you succeed in are going to outpace all your failures. And a lot of times people give up too soon. They haven't failed enough to see those successes materialize. And sometimes, I'm a believer, when it rains, it pours. But it's the same on the other side, right? Like when things are good, it's pouring like greatness, or whatever you want to call it, wins as well. So you got to find that balance. And I hope this makes sense.
Oh, it definitely makes sense. You made me start, because I'm just out the gym, started getting my guns at 45 to say, hey, yeah, shred it. That's what we're going for. So we feel like, in the body we're 16 or something. But you had said something too about, sales and marketing not knowing each other. My first master's degree was in communication, and people would try to say, hey, help us with the sales. And how I learned it was through default many moons ago, and marketing. But I say, I really don't think you guys understand. These are 2 and 3 different skill sets. They can, in a Venn diagram, combine. But can you talk about your expertise and what you aren't? Because a lot of people will try to say, hey, are you full service? My company can be, but I'd rather partner with companies like yours, because we found it to be profitable on our end to say, hey, what's your price, Allan? Do your expertise and do this for the client. Here's the money. And, you don't have to deal with the headache of the client sometimes, because they might be a pain in the arse. But, give us the game on what you aren't, so people know what not to bother you with.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do content. We specifically focus in paid ads, and we specifically focus on businesses that want to grow and scale. We work with local businesses, mostly in the insurance space. We've seen incredible results there. We've seen clients like get life-changing results. Like, people are emailing me regularly every single week, like, hey, like, Allan, this has changed my life. This has changed my business. I bought a new house. I put my kids through college. All of that. We also work with like enterprise, large clients that are spending 5, 10 grand a day. I wouldn't say large, but like SMB, like more like medium-sized companies that are spending 5, 10, 15 grand a day on ads across a variety of service-based verticals, like coaching, consulting, accounting, recruiting, all these types of verticals that are really looking to scale, and they have a sales team and they want to fill their sales team's calendars. Or maybe when they try to scale up their ads, their cost of acquiring every single client starts to go up. So we help them come up with strategies, come up with creatives, and build the marketing infrastructure they need so that they can scale. They can scale their spend from 5 grand a day to 20 grand a day, and do so profitably.
And don't forget insurance, y'all. If when you check him out, he's big on insurance for you guys who say, hey, I need help, because these are businesses that, recruiters come and they can say they can train anybody. And if you can make a living in insurance, you can make a good living if you can stick with it. I think that's true with everything. Can you let the people know how many languages you speak? Here in America, we suffer with just English, but how many? You mentioned the Russian, but something tells me you can even do more than that.
Yeah. So I like that you bring it up. I'm actually I speak English and Russian fluently, and I'm in the process of learning Spanish. I love South America. I was actually just in Colombia for the last month and a half, and I'm going back in 2 weeks to Colombia. I love it there. For a lot of different reasons actually. But as we talk, I'm learning Spanish. I was actually in a Spanish academy for the past month, learning Spanish. So I'm not fluent yet, but I am conversational.
Hello everyone. Come along with London and Sydney as they show you around the vibrant country of Cameroon. Explore the heart of Africa through the eyes of London and Sydney. Two explorers who journey across the great city of Yaoundé, exploring its rich culture, vibrant market squares, cultural heritage, and wildlife. With giggles and excitement, London and Sydney Explore Cameroon takes you on a fun-filled adventure, providing insight into the country's culture and traditions through the pages of this book. It's packed with exciting stories and super cool facts about Cameroon that will make you go, wow. Get your copy now, available on Amazon and in libraries near you. There's only one easy way to experience the exploration of Cameroon, and it's through London and Sydney. Don't wait, get yours.
Okay. And what about, and I know Toronto is mainly English speaking, but there are a population that do speak French. When you go to Montreal, you really get to see how bad you are in French. But, you know, when you can pick up two languages, sometimes you can pick up many. How is your French?
I learned French in university. I took a French class. I can understand it, but I'm not that good. I'm not conversational in French at all.
Okay.
So in Toronto, French isn't as big as it is in Quebec, which is a different province, kind of like how in the U.S. they have states, and so basically, yeah, French isn't really big in Ontario. I mean, people speak French, but it's not big. Like, for example, on airplanes, when they announce safety procedures, they do them in English and French in Canada. But like other than that, like I don't come across French people in Ontario very often.
And your parents being from two different countries, I know, you know, Russian is spoken all through, but there is also another language in every country. Your dad's language, did you not pick that one up?
So in the Soviet era, like they equalized everyone and they got rid of the individual countries. So my mom's from Ukraine, but she doesn't know a word of Ukrainian, even though she grew up there. My father's from Uzbekistan. He doesn't know a word of their language there. But I mean, it was all Russian in the Soviet times when they were growing up.
Okay. I love languages. I struggle with them, but like my friend from the Ukraine who Vitaly, thank you for all that you did for me back in the day when we used to work in the trucking industry in the oil field, making all that money. Like he'd go from Italian because he grew up there, but he's Ukrainian. Then he would go jump into Rus, and I'm like, this guy, are you sure you should be in the oil field? Like you need to be at the, you know, the United Nations. But I just love it. What is something that you're still as a business owner, because you're not even a decade in yet. What are you still struggling with and trying to figure out?
I'm trying to figure out everything. I think if you're not getting better, you're getting worse because the competition is getting better. So I'm by no means perfect at anything. I'm always learning, and I think that's like just who I am. I love learning. That's what I ultimately love. And so I'm constantly learning, trying to get better in different areas. One thing I'm really think I have a lot of room to grow is learning how to train and hire people. So I've really struggled for the longest time learning how to hire people, and now I'm getting a lot better at that. And I think a really high leverage thing for me right now is learning how to train. Once you hire the right people, if you don't give them the right training, they're gonna leave or not excel in that role. And so, I'm not doing my business a service, or I'm rather doing my business a disservice by not training the people when I find them. So that's something I've been really, really working on. And I think it's a very high leverage in terms of taking my business to a whole nother level, a whole new stratosphere.
Okay, yeah, that's a skill. I love the hiring. And I used to struggle with having to fire people for clients because sometimes we'll manage, 30 plus people for clients. But it's if you hire right, and again, Dave Ramsey, great. Read everything Dave says on how to hire everybody out there, and you'll see that it's like dating, it's courting, and people, of course, are the best at the interview. And then as soon as they get the job, then you really get to see how they are. But, you come with love, and sometimes you got to leave with a goon hand and a muscle hand. And as they say, when you're done, you're done. And there's no need to be nasty about it. But that I love that, because that's going to help people. What is a community give back that you are doing, or one that you would like to do in the future? And if the audience can help you with that, please let it be known.
So I haven't done anything specific about like community give backs yet. It's something I've been thinking about. Something I really value is like education. I think it's really important. I was always a good student in school, and I think education is like, there's people coming from underprivileged backgrounds and things like that, and maybe it for like your environment shapes who you are, and so like something I'd really like to give back to is that, which is something on the radar. Whether that, I haven't really decided on whether that's giving back to certain nonprofits in these areas of educating kids from underprivileged backgrounds, or creating my own nonprofit for that cause.
Okay. If I can, a suggestion, always go see what the master is doing. Find one that's good, learn under them, and then you can create your own, because there's so many, nonprofits and people helping. And that goes to my next question, because there's so many marketing companies, and we have Go High Level, we white label it like everybody else, but people make it seem like, oh, I got a software for you, knowing that most people aren't going to be able to use most of these softwares like Go High Level, because they're not going to take the time to learn the system or go hire the people to manage every client. I know you have your own SaaS coming. If you want to say, why is it different, what people can do, maybe it's a better price, maybe you're being a saint and giving it to them for free for 30 days or more, please give us the game and share that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a SaaS company. It's a spin-off of my marketing company. Basically, we have a software that helps insurance agents and financial advisors close clients. It's specific towards like a niche called Roth conversions, and it's like a sales enablement platform that makes it easier for the advisor to break down the math for their clients, and they almost make all the calculations and the nuances a no-brainer for their clients. So it's like very, very niche, very, very specific. Um, it's not a white label GHL. It's a software that me and my business partner have built on our own, through trial and error, just because we've identified a massive need in the marketplace.
Okay. And I want to say it's suregrow.io. Did I get that right?
No, it's retirementexpert.ai.
Okay. Retirement expert. See, you guys, I can get things wrong too. But links will be in the description if everything is set up, because having, a tech company, a SaaS company, more trouble, more problems, but also more venture capitalists, more vultures, as I call us. Do you plan on, growing this till the cows come home, or do you want to sell it? And give us the game.
I mean, if we had an 8-figure offer, I'd sell it. Do I want to sell it? I don't know. I think it's a good business, and good businesses. People buy it, good businesses, because they're good businesses, right? So, I mean, right now we're in the phase of growth for that business. So I just want to concentrate, make the most out of it, and see where we could take it. If someone gives us an offer that we can't refuse, I'll take it. I've been kind of living off of the profits out of my agency, so that's more my cash flow business right now. The software is profitable, and we have really high margins there. But me and my partner right now are trying to invest heavily into growth, just because we think we've just scratched the surface with where we're at. And I think that software business could be a more valuable business from an enterprise value standpoint than my agency, just because agencies don't usually sell at very large multiples, whereas software companies can sell for really, really large multiples. So Yeah.
And you mentioned Colombia, and shout out to Colombia, everybody. I'm a shout out where most people don't go in Palenque, which is an African town that they fought hard for and got its first hotel when we were down there last. When you think about the international market and being able to, even speak all these languages, have you also looked into Mexico, which I'm a resident, my family and I are Mexico, and also the African market, because these are markets that, sometimes people due to language or due to ignorance just don't know.
I haven't looked. The US is a really, really large market, and it's not just large from a population standpoint, it's really large from buying power. So that's really been majority of our focus. But I mean, there's even better and even bigger opportunities in some of these markets that you mentioned: South America, Mexico, Africa. Just because you know the competition isn't as fierce there. In the U.S., everyone's a shark, and so that's just how it is. But I definitely think they're great markets to explore. Just one thing is people have different cultures in different areas. So maybe in the US, there's a demand for creatine as an example, right? If someone has a creatine store, maybe the demand in these other places is lower. Maybe it's higher. It just depends. So you want to kind of live the land, understand those markets before you get in there. But if someone has a business and it's going well in the US, I would always recommend to double down in the US before you kind of exhaust that market before going somewhere else. Cause the sky's the limit. Like there are billion-dollar insurance companies, things like that, right? So it's like, hey, unless you're a billion-dollar company, you probably shouldn't even think about it because unless you've exhausted your market. Now, if you're new, maybe you don't have a business right now that's already proven and working. Maybe it makes sense to try some of these other markets, because maybe you get more traction. There's people that have made like billions of dollars taking American ideas and introducing them in Europe. I don't see why those same ideas can't be made into billion-dollar businesses in South America or in Mexico or in Africa. If you bring them in and the market is right and the execution is right and things like that.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai, then download the Millionaire X app, your AI-powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
And your team is right. That's part of our business when we grow businesses and expand, especially for people, this might be their first business. Your team has to be right. Your team has to know the language. Please don't go anywhere outside of, the space and try to do it and say, I don't speak the language. You got to know how to buy in the market everywhere you go. It's the World Cup time. Who do you got, Allan? Who are you going for in the World Cup?
Yeah, my team actually asked me that this morning. I don't really like soccer is not my favorite sport, long story short, and I know a lot of people in the world love it. I don't have like a team I'm cheering for. I mean, I am Canadian, so it's like, okay, cool if Canada does well. There's some games in Toronto, which is my hometown. I'm not going to any games. I honestly just it's not my thing. But yeah, there'll be some games. And I know, the whole cities are crazy. Like downtown Toronto is absolutely crazy right now because of World Cup. There's actually a game in Toronto this evening. So
Yeah, I got some team members. They're all women too. They're going, and my wife is from Cameroon. She's like, once Cameroon got out, I wasn't interested, and it costs so much money. At least on this side here in Florida, it's crazy prices.
yeah.
Well, let the people know if you have any plans of having a book, having your own podcast. Heck, you could be even doing courses. Trying to get the next Allan out there. What else you're building, and any last words? Give them the game on that.
Yeah, I don't have a book. I don't sell a course. Um, I'm not teaching anything. I love talking to people. If people have questions, I'm more than happy to meet with them and kind of chat, talk business, talk game. But right now, I mean, my focus is just on what I've got. We're really trying to go up market right now and work with larger clients and build more customized solutions just because I think that's the natural progression of my business right now. And so like that's been my big focus is upmarket, bigger clients, bigger companies, companies that are spending 1, 2, 5, 10K a day on ads and want to scale that spend just because it involves a lot more complexity. And like that's something I'm very good at is ads and all of that, coming up with strategies, new angles. And so that's been our big focus right now.
And leave the people last words. When you say, okay, 10 grand a day, some folks can't even fathom, and they can't even fathom that somebody would spend 60K or even 100K, like Dave said on the Moonshot podcast on his AI bill. And you're like, what is he building? What do you think is a solid number? Because the $5 a day, I tell clients that you're talking a decade plus ago, you're not really going to move the needle for the way people are spending money. What would you say for that young person, especially who's like $5 a day is not going to get me anywhere in my music niche or in my food niche? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people if everything was so easy, like everyone would do it, $5 a day won't get you far. I mean, at the end of the day, ads is all about return, and it's all about return on investment. So if you're spending $1,000 and you're making five, well, a lot of people don't just want to make five; they want to make 30 grand a month, or 100 grand a month, or $1 million a month. And so, if you can spend 5 grand a month and make 30, well, that means you have to spend about 150 to $170 a day. So I mean, as a testing budget, if something isn't working at $100, it's not going to work at 1,000, right? That's the bottom line. So you want to spend slow and steady and make calculated not guesses, but calculated plays. If you're spending $1 and you're making five, well, then you spend more, right? So maybe you start at $100 a day, test it out, and then start spending 300, 500, 1,000. And then once you're spending 1,000 a day, you reach out to me and you're like, hey, Allan, help us scale to 5K a day, right? And so that's really what it is. Business is just math at a high level. A lot of people don't figure that out, and they don't figure out their unit economics. Maybe they're acquiring customers and they're spending $100 a day, but the ads aren't quite as profitable as they want. In which case, they have to re-engineer their unit economics so the unit economics start to make sense. Example would be maybe they're charging too low. They need to charge more. Maybe they need to charge more and offer more because that's going to make people a better offer. It's more compelling. It's easier to sell, etc. People will either pay for knowledge. But the problem with people paying for knowledge is most people aren't willing to act on that knowledge. You could sell the best course in the world. Most people won't watch it, and the ones that do, very few will actually act on it, right? But maybe you want to sell a course and the implementation. So call it coaching, guidance, mentorship, whatever you want to call that. And you're helping them implement what you teach in that course, which will not only give people more value, but it'll also increase the likelihood that they're going to have success because now they have someone holding their hand. So maybe you have like a low ticket course that you sell for $500, and then your upsell is, hey, we're going to hold your hand and help you execute this game plan in your business or in whatever you do in your consulting business so that you can make more money. And that's pretty much what people want.
When you start talking about that unit economics, you know he went to Schulich and has an accounting degree. So he's not just somebody who just created, and just said one day I'm going to do marketing. I got that right with your degree, right? You dream you dream in numbers.
Yeah.
So that's no, you guys have gotten the game. I want you guys to look in the descriptions. The website will be there. You can reach out. You can go see if you need help. You see what level it is. So if you got $5, wait till you move up a little bit. But Allan is one thing I liked about his tone when we did this research. He wasn't trying to sell you. He's presenting what he does. He says what he does. He's not saying he's the guru of all gurus. And that mind frame, I if I would have had him on, I would have embarrassed him if he was like that. He's not like that. He's a real person. You guys go get the game, whether you meet him in Canada or in Colombia. Might be his second home. I might be, speaking it into existence. Let that happen in Jesus Christ's name. You guys, make sure you make sure you comment, but most importantly, make sure you share this game. It will change somebody's life. Be blessed, y'all.
Hi everyone. Have you ever been curious about visiting Africa? Which African country were you interested in? Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Ethiopia? Which country are you interested in? My good friend, Kellen Coleman, came up with a course called My First Trip to Africa that'll guide you through this process. It's only $20, and in this course you'll learn about passports, visas, vaccinations that you need before you go there, as well as a budget, how much the trip is going to cost. He also talks about what you should pack, what you should take with you, how you should travel on a budget. Did you know that $100 is worth 1,000 South African rand and over 10,000 Kenyan shillings? So imagine what you can do with $100 back home. I say back home because I'm from Sudan, I'm African, I already know how it's like. I know that, when you convert Canadian and American money, it goes a long way when you're traveling across Africa. So if you're curious, if Africa is a place that you've always wanted to go, always wanted to move there, Kellen Cash is the person to ask. Check out the course. There's a little preview you can listen to before you actually purchase it. If you're interested in this course, visit www.diversifiedgame.com. Don't miss out.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand or 10,000 Kenyan shillings or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.